Hello everybody, I am not dead yet, and today I am responding to the Iron Musket, who recently put out a video on his second channel, where he talks about a lot of things, but at the start, he talks about why a lot of YouTubers do YouTube, and he talks about why he did YouTube, and he talks about how a lot of YouTubers are, or at least were, not the most popular people coming up through high school and middle school, and how he believes that, you know, he's having a bit of an identity crisis, how he's trying to really figure out why he's here doing what he's doing, why he's on the platform.
Having a bit of an identity crisis right now, no joke. I feel like such a egotistical bastard, for lack of a better term. I mean, because I realize now that the reasons I do YouTube are just all of that of a fraud. It's so dumb. I know the first one you're probably thinking of is money. Oh, no. I've told you that before. I used to make a 3K off a web project. Just do one project, boom, on to the next. Oh, this one's 5K, boom, boom. It wasn't the money, guys. There was something deep-rooted that got me into YouTube that I didn't notice. At first, I thought I knew it. Oh, you just want to make people laugh. And that's why I tell other people, and that's what I mean. I do want to make people laugh. But when I look at it closer, I've started to realize that the reason for that was because I didn't get the chance to do that in high school. I didn't get the chance to do that in middle school.
And one of the things that he may have come to terms with is that he's trying to prove, both to himself and to others, that he can do it. Like, he can make people laugh, he can be popular, he can do all those things.
I think the reason that I really quit web design, making great money, and went to YouTube, the core reason is because I wanted to prove to myself that I am a good person, a funny person, a cool person. It just sounds so stupid when you say it out loud. It's like cringy to even think of that. Like, I want to upload videos so people think I'm cool.
And he talks about how that's a bad thing, and how he can, and how he feels, it feels narcissistic for him, and how it can lead you down this cycle of never ever really being happy.
If that's the case, I don't want that to be the case. I don't want it to be a constant battle of proving it, because I know how it ends. I know how it ends. It's never a good ending. It's like those celebrities where they get to the top and then they're bawling their eyes out. They're depressed. Some of them kill themselves.
And I want to give my thoughts on that, because to a certain extent, I believe we're all a bunch of narcissists. I believe we're all trying to leave some sort of impact on the world and the people around us. And I believe to a certain extent, everything we do is fueled by that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong for doing something to prove something to yourself, or to, you know, say that I did it. When I first started boxing again, it was 2 years ago now, and the catalyst that made me decide to actually step back into the ring was purely selfish. And I'm not trying to claim that I'm here to change the world, and I think that's something that we see a lot nowadays, especially like on YouTube, is this whole push to, you know, be super kind and to, you know, save lives and change the world and do whatever. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that, don't get me wrong, but I don't think you necessarily have to be the most selfless person to be justified in your endeavors, you know? I don't want to change the world, I just want to leave it colder. And I think that's okay. Like, when I first started boxing again 2 years ago, what the catalyst was, because, and I remember it, and it's very similar to what Josh mentions, how he was, you know, doing relatively well in life. You know, he was making a lot of money, and he gave it up for YouTube because he wanted to be more self-fulfilled. And I would play you the clip that inspired me, and it was from, it's an anime I've mentioned a bunch, Ashita no Joe. It's a boxing anime, and there's a scene that really kind of snapped me out of whatever, right? And I'd play it for you, but I can't. This video, it's not even that it would get demonetized, it would get blocked. I've tried playing clips of Joe in previous videos, and the video gets completely blocked, and nobody can watch it, so I'll describe the scene. You have Joe and this girl, Noriko, on a pier. They're on this, like, seaside thing. Maybe I can put up an image, but anyway, the girl turns to Joe, and she asks him, "Don't you ever get lonely? Like, a lot of people your age are having fun in the seaside and the countryside, and yet you, every day, you wake up and you spend most of your time in this dirty, old gym that smells like sweat and Vaseline, stretching, jumping rope, and hitting the sandbag. You're still young, and while everyone else is off enjoying their youth, you can't. You know, your body still wants to grow, and you can't eat and drink what you want. And when you do step into the light for once, it's to step into that ring and fight like a fight dog and get covered in blood. That's your youth. It's miserable. Why would you want to do that?" And Joe responds that he's not boxing out of a sense of guilt or obligation. He's doing it because he loves it. And Noriko responds that she understands, or that she knows, and then Joe cuts her off, and he says the speech that inspired me to return to the ring. He says that my fire is nothing like those insignificant and incomplete combustions you see everywhere. It may just be for a moment, but my fire roars up so bright and so hot, it's almost blinding. And when I'm done, nothing is left but pure white ash. And then he talks with his friends, Rikishi and Carlos, and he says he knows that they felt the same way. And Noriko tries to say that, she'll probably never understand, and as Joe turns to respond, she's already started walking away. So Joe turns his back and he walks forward, alone, down the cold, dark, and lonely road that he's chosen. And as he walks away, he says to himself, "Yeah, there will be no embers left, just pure white ash." And in that moment, there was something that happened. I realized something in that moment. Because to me, he had been saying something, it was like a sense of, that's it. That's how it feels. And I realized, the fires of my passion are nothing like those insignificant and incomplete combustions you see around you day to day. The zombies that tell themselves that they're happy, or that they should be happy. And I would rather put it all on the line and burn until there's nothing left than live this long life that has no meaning behind it. And so I started training again. And I've talked, and since that moment, I've talked to a lot of people, and the training is rough. It's brutal. It's every day I choose to wake up and put my body through hell, and I'm tired. I stress about time. Like, my life would be a lot less stressful if I either stopped doing YouTube or stopped trying to box and just continued on as usual. Because at that point, I was, successful by whatever metric you want to measure it. I should have been satisfied. I was top of my class in the vast majority of my university classes. I was, I had a job that was going well. I was in decent shape, not as in good a shape as I am now, but like I still had abs and I was still relatively strong with good cardio. But there was something missing. And I remember, because I talked to a friend of mine, Paul. He's been on the channel before, and I'll put up the video. But he asked me, because when I first retired, I said I would never box again. I said I hated boxing. I never wanted to do it ever again. And I remember the conversation I had, because I had very similar conversations to Joe and Noriko. And in fact, like, I think I've had like almost that exact conversation with a girl back when I was competing super competitively. And so this was a while after I decided that I wanted to compete again, and I started getting back into the lifestyle. And I remember my friend Paul, he said, Eli, I remember you saying that you hated boxing, that you would never do it again. Yet here you are. What made you come back? And I said, well, Paul, when I was boxing, I was a god. I was invincible. No one could hurt me. No one could touch me. And there were moments, even before I decided to officially start competing again, where I would tap into that feeling of invincibility. I remember one time I was going for a jog, and I just imagined that I was training for a match. I think I imagined I was training for a match with KSI, because it was around that time the KSI Logan Paul fight was happening. And I was like, yeah, I'd fucking kill him, right? But, so I imagined that. And then I got about halfway through my run before I realized I was sprinting. And I just realized that there was this excitement and fire. The fires of passion and excitement and the desire to fight that I had thought long since extinguished were still burning. They were embers, sure, but it's from embers that you build a bonfire. And I told him that. And I just kind of said, Paul, you want to know, you asked me, like, even though I thought I hated it, why I decided to come back. The answer, at the end of the day, is very simple. I wanted to be a god again. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think we're all here to, or at least we're all trying to leave a legacy. We're all trying to leave our mark in some way, shape, or form. And, some people may say that's narcissistic. Why did you start YouTube? Oh, I started YouTube to help people. I started YouTube to, promote self-improvement and help people better their lives. I started YouTube to help people lose weight. I started YouTube to help make people laugh and brighten their day. I started YouTube because I wanted more attention on me. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, and I don't think you should be ashamed of it. In fact, I honestly think in saying that, Josh, you are probably more honest than the vast majority of people who give the reasons why they started YouTube. That's one of the reasons why I started, is, fame and fortune, right? Fortune and glory. But, I don't think that you should feel bad if your reasoning is to prove something, or because you wanted to, because you weren't fulfilled. I put myself through hell for those reasons. I sacrifice a lot for those reasons. Like, what pushes me to fight? Like, ultimately, so one could say that what I'm doing is self-destructive. I lost teeth because I wanted to prove something to myself. And I wanted to feel invincible again. Like, I always said that I could make it. I could do well in, boxing. I could do decent in the pros. I could have fought on the world stage. I could make it, whatever. And it got to the point where I eventually, because of those previous stories, I decided to say, you know what? Put your money where your mouth is. I think it's important to, for me at least, some people can live with the question. Some people don't want the answer. They prefer to say, I could have done it, and have it not be answered. For me, that wasn't good enough. I'd rather live knowing the answer than die not knowing. Even if it's not the answer I want. At least I can say I gave it my all. And I don't think I'd be able to truly say I have no regrets if I didn't give everything I had. And I believe that Josh, through the conversations we've had together, is of a similar breed and of a similar mindset. And so Josh, all this to say, your mentality isn't selfish. It's not something you should be ashamed of. It's a mentality that drives us all in one way or another. And I believe that in acknowledging that, you are already more honest than most. And as we go along here, I also want to make one thing clear, because he is to a certain extent right. If you are constantly seeking the validation from others, it leads to misery, right? Because you'll never be validated by everyone. I mean, take a look at Will Smith. But I do think that you can seek to prove things to yourself, and that is perfectly okay. And that won't necessarily lead to misery, so long as that you are smart with the way you go about it. When I first went back into sparring and got my teeth punched out, I was confronted with a lot of conflicting emotions, a lot of questions, being like, could I get back to what I was? Can I really do this? Am I really as good as I think I am? And I believe that to a certain extent, like Josh says, a lot of YouTubers go through very similar things when a video underperforms. Oh, am I really all that funny? Do people really like me? Am I still relevant? Am I going to fall off or whatever? And a lot of times we don't really have answers to those questions. Those questions are things that you can't really find out the answer to until they're definitive, right? And it's really hard, because there's not a lot you can do to quell that insecurity and to quell that stress. But Josh, the advice that I can give you, the way that I was able to put those questions to rest in my mind, at least for the time being, was I buckled down and just simply said, let's find out. You know, because a lot of people quit because of the pressure of those questions. And the mental strain it takes, because there's that constant wonder. But, you know, can I get to what I was? Can I be what I used to be? Is it possible? Am I really as good as I think I am? Can I make it back to nationals, to the world stage and beyond? Let's find out. Because if you're truly doing things to prove that something to yourself, then hone in on that. Hone in on the yourself part of it and say, remind yourself that you're doing this for you. Like, can I do it? Let's find out. And if you can't, don't, my memory is not doing so well. If you can't, don't hate yourself. You know, you gave it your all, and that's really all anybody can ask of you. And you're already doing better than so many of us. You're incredibly successful. And, yeah. So, that's how I put those questions to rest, is by, in a way, reaffirming that no matter what happens, this is the path that I've chosen, and I don't want to go back on it. And I know that you know some of this already. We've had conversations, but I wanted to voice this because I think it might have been, it might be able to be of help to you, and maybe of help to others. So that is really all I have to say for this video, I believe. I would, if any of you want to support me, all of my affiliate links will be in the description, along with all my social medias. If you guys enjoyed this video, comments, likes, and subscribes are greatly appreciated. I'm also looking for more sponsors. If anybody is looking to sponsor either me or a video, My business email is again down in the description. I would like to thank all of my Patreon supporters, as again, speaking of morale and monetary incentive, they give both and really push me to continue to make content despite my very, very hectic schedule. But I believe that is everything. So again, I hope that this kind of ramble was helpful, and until the next time, I am not dead yet. And Josh, I think you know this one already, but if you are not either, remember, only the strong subscribe, and there's always a tomorrow waiting for you.